Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you what might be the best Wiiflow tutorial you're going to find here on YouTube. In my first Wiiflow video, I demonstrated how to use the application with a combination of USB hard drive and SD card. Well, I noticed a lot of you in the comments wanted to know how to do all that with just an SD card, so we'll be covering that here today. I'll also address a few questions I noticed in the comments about adding games and box art to your retro systems. This video is pretty much designed to make the whole process a breeze, plus I even created a custom set of Wiiflow tools using Python to make the renaming files and box art process that much easier. But with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so to get started, you want to make sure you have an SD card with a lot of space on it. I was using a 32GB SD card prior to this on my Wii, but I'm going to be upgrading to a 128GB SD card for this video. Now, when you're using a card that's over 32GB, in order to format it to FAT32, you have to have this special tool here, which I'll leave in the description, along with everything else that I'm doing here today. But I'm just going to click this image, and it's going to say GUI format.exe. If you have a message to keep it, just go ahead and keep it. And we'll just move on and go through our downloads and get to everything one by one. It is a lot of downloads here, but everything's pretty simple and drag and drop. So let's go on to the next one here. This one's going to be Wiiflow Lite. This might be a different version by the time you're watching this, but as of right now, this is the one I'm doing. Next one is going to be yet another WAD manager. If you already have a WAD manager on your Wii, you can skip this one. The next one's going to be a Wiiflow WAD. Realistically, any of these WADs will do, but I know that the clouds one works as well as blue circles from my last video, but this time I'm going to be going with the clouds. Next up, we have our Wiiflow plugins pack. So right here it says download the latest update, Wiiflow Lite plugins pack 2024. So click that. You're going to want to make sure you grab the Wiiflow plugins pack 2024, not the extras, just the 2024. And then hit download. So the next one's going to be the Wiiflow Lite with emulators database. So there's 3 files here that we're gonna have to grab. It's gonna be the database. Just give this a second. Download that. We also want the snapshots. Download that. And we want the cart disk. And download that. And pretty much what this does is it displays a game info window and synopsis for almost all emulated systems. It's also possible to show a snapshot and a cartridge of an image. So it's pretty awesome. Next up, we're going to have a theme for Wiiflow. So Wiiflow comes pretty bare bones. It's going to be on a black screen when we use it later. So this is going to be a nice theme for us here today. So I'm going to go with download Rhapsody Shima 5.5.4, the 16:9 versions for me. Next up is the Wii Backup Manager. I'm just going to go and download the zip here, and this is what's going to help manage our Wii games and get them inputted onto our SD card, so everything will run good. After that, we actually have the same thing, but for GameCube games. So this is the GameCube Backup Manager. Go ahead and download this as well. And we're going to stop here at CD image. This is going to be for later on when we're renaming our box art for our retro system. So we'll stop here and start setting up our SD card. Okay, so the first step for me is going to be upgrading my SD card. So I told you all I was using a 32GB. I made a copy of what was on that SD card earlier, and now I'm going to format it to FAT32 so I don't have to worry about losing any of the information on it. So open up the GUI format tool if you're upgrading your SD card. It's pretty simple. Just locate your drive, which I know mine's drive E. I already labeled it. If you're going to use the tool, you have to make sure you have any windows like these closed, and then hit start. And now your larger SD card is formatted to FAT32. So let's go ahead and open that up. So like I said, the card is empty now, but I have the backup. So I'm just gonna copy everything, drag it on there. And once this is finished, that's all you need to do to upgrade your SD card. Okay, so now the next step, I'll just leave my SD card open, but I'll also open my downloads folder. Put them side by side. And we're going to extract everything that's a zip file. So let's go ahead and highlight all of these. Right click, and then extract each archive to a separate folder. If you get any messages like this that ask you to replace any files, just go ahead and hit yes to all. And once again, just let this finish. And when that's all done, you can go ahead and delete all the zip files. So now the next thing we can do is start structuring our SD card. you want to make sure you follow along with what I'm doing here today and install things one by one, not all in one shot, because there are files that will get overwritten, which will mess up things later on down the road for us. So let's start off with just the Wiiflow 5.5.4 folder. We have an apps folder and Wiiflow. Let's highlight both of those and just throw it onto the root of our SD card. Okay, after that's done, let's go back and we're gonna do our yet another WAD manager. So open this folder here. And if we open this, you're gonna see we have the boot.dol and stuff. So we want the folder before it. And we're gonna throw this into our apps folder. So just so you guys know, open the apps folder. You have yet another WAD manager with the information on the inside of that. And obviously we need a WAD to go with the WAD manager now. So on your SD card, we're gonna create a new folder. We're gonna call it WADs. If you already have this done, you can skip this step. And we're gonna toss in this Wiiflow channel WAD right into the WADs folder. After that's done, we can go ahead and do the Wiiflow plugins pack. So open this up. You're gonna see a bunch of stuff here. It says copy to SD or USB, and copy to USB. So let's start with copy to SD. We're gonna grab these files here, throw it on the root of our SD card, let that transfer. Go back one folder. I'm gonna grab the copy to SD or USB, open that up. I'm gonna copy all of these over to our SD card. This might take a little bit, a couple minutes, so I'll see you soon. Okay, after that's done, we can go ahead and go back a folder again. You're gonna see we have copy to USB here. Since we're not using USB hard drive or flash drive here today, we can skip this step and head back over into our downloads folder. Now the next thing we're gonna grab is our snapshots. So open this folder up, open this folder up as well, and we have our Wiiflow folder. So we're gonna toss that onto the root of our SD card once again. And this might take a while to transfer again, so I will see you shortly. All right, after that one's done, head back over to your downloads folder, and we will do the database next. Let's open that up, grab the Wiiflow folder, and bring that over to the root of your SD card. Might ask you if you want to replace the file, go ahead and do that. Then head back over to your downloads again, and we will do the cart disk this time. So open that up, grab the Wiiflow folder, and bring it onto the root of your SD card. This one might take a little longer again, so I will see you in a second. Okay, on to the next one. Go back to your downloads folder. And this time we're going to do the Rhapsody Shima theme. So let's open this up, open up 5.5.4, and go to the copy to root folder, and then take this Wiiflow folder and copy it over to the root of the SD card. It's going to be like the main theme for today. And now we need to replace the file in the destination. And that should be it. Let me just go back to the downloads to verify. We did that. We did all that. We did the plugins pack, did the WAD manager and the theme. Yep. So the next thing to do is just add our games. So we're going to start off with doing our Wii games and our GameCube games. Then we're going to go take a look at the system, get it all set up. And then finally, at the end of the video, we're going to go and cover our box art and stuff like that. And I'll leave timestamps for everything down below in case people want to move around to different parts of the video. But let's go ahead and open up the Wii Backup Manager. And you have the Win32 or 64 according to your system. I'm going to do the 64. Yes. And on your SD card, we're going to have to create a new folder. So right click, new folder, right on the root of the SD. And we're going to call it WBFS. Hit enter. And now what the Wii Backup Manager does, I already prepared all my files earlier today for this video. So if I go into Wii games here, you're going to see all my games here. Donkey Kong Country returns.wbfs. This needs to have a proper game ID in order for it to be read on the SD card or a USB hard drive. So this is where the Backup Manager comes in handy. So let's go ahead and go to add, go to folder. I'm going to add this Wii games folder, hit OK. And here's all my games, and now they have the correct title ID. Now we need to transfer these over to the SD card. So go ahead and hit select all, and then go to transfer, WBFS file, and then select your SD card and your WBFS file, folder I should say. Hit OK. And now we need to let this transfer all the games to the SD card. Give this a couple of minutes and I'll be back. All right, once that's done, I can close this and I'll show you guys what that looks like on the SD card. You go right to the bottom, you have your WBFS folder, open that up. And now you can see those game IDs that I was talking to you about earlier. So we have Donkey Kong Country with the game ID. Inside, you have the game ID .wbfs, and it's like that for every single game. Now, let's go ahead and move on to GameCube games. So same thing, let's go ahead and just back out of this. Go to your downloads, and we're gonna grab this GCBM right here. This is the GameCube Backup Manager. Go ahead and open up the exe file. Hit yes, I know OBS likes to cut out whenever I open those files, so sorry about that. Choose your preferred language, mine is English. Hit OK, hit set. It's gonna tell you this file is not found. Would you like to download it? Hit yes, give it a moment. After that, the first thing we're gonna do is set our destination. So this is where our files are gonna go into. So this is gonna be the SD card. Go to this inactive tab here and select it to the drive that is your SD. Mine's drive E. This is a valid device, but there is no games folder. Would you like to create one now? Go ahead and hit yes. Then go ahead and go over to file source, and we're gonna start adding our games. So go over to more directories. And once again, I have my games all prepared. So I'm gonna go into my games folder, GameCube games, hit OK. And here's all of our GameCube games. Let's go ahead and take a look at our SD card as well and see if it created that games folder for us. So, yep, here it is right here. So these games with their corrected title IDs are gonna go into this folder. So let's open this up again. This time we have to select everything manually. I don't think there's a select all option for this one. And we're just gonna go to install game. So give this a moment just like we did with the other one, and I will see you soon. All right, when this one's finished, I'll just give you guys another example here. So let me open up my games folder, GameCube folder. So this is what my games used to look like. We have Def Jam Fight for New York.iso, and this is what they get renamed into the games folder. So we have Def Jam Fight for New York with the new game ID, and inside of that, every ISO is renamed to game.iso. Even all the other systems are also game.iso. So that's how it should look, and that's what the backup manager takes care of for you. So I think we're all set for the moment. Let's take the SD card out and head back over to the Wii, and we'll see what we got going on so far. Okay, now that we're finally on our system, we can go ahead and install our Wiiflow channel forwarder. So open up the homebrew channel, hit start, give it a second to open up. We're gonna open up the some yet another WAD manager mod here, hit load. Then it's gonna ask you to select your source device, which for me it's the SD card, hit A to continue. Then it's gonna have you navigate your SD card. So we're gonna look for our WADs folder. Open that up, and you're gonna see our Wiiflow channel. If you chose clouds like me, it should say this. So go ahead and hit A, and it's gonna say install WAD. Just hit A again. Let it install, should only take a second. And then hit any button to continue. Go ahead and hit the B button, and now the home button. This will take us back to the homebrew launcher. And then the home button again, and we will exit to the system menu. And now you can see right here to the right of the homebrew channel, we have our Wiiflow channel. Let's open this up and hit start. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna notice when you start up Wiiflow is that you have no cover art and a black background. So we're looking at our Wii games currently. If I go ahead and open up Donkey Kong Country Returns, you're gonna see we have the information for it here. We have an animation for Donkey Kong Country opening. But let's go ahead and press the B button and fix the cover art first. So if your console's connected to the internet, go ahead and hit the home button, go into settings, download covers and banners, covers download, and it's going to initialize the network and start grabbing the cover art for your games. So just give this a moment to finish, and again, I will see you in a second. All right, and once that's complete, go ahead and hit the home button, then you can hit the B button, just return back. And now you're going to notice you have your cover art, which is looking a lot better than what it was. Now, if you've noticed at this current point in time, if you launched a game and it doesn't work, maybe you didn't do your CIOSs when you originally modded your console, and I have a video for that, which I'll link above. It is part of a Wii homebrew guide that I made, but you can just use the timestamps down below and navigate to the CIOS part. So now the next thing we're going to do is check out our GameCube games. So if I go to the bottom here, you're going to have a section right here. It's got the GameCube icon. Go ahead and hit home. It's going to tell you have no games found. That's because it doesn't know the directory your games are in. So go ahead and hit the home button. Go to settings. Go to game partitions. GameCube partition is going to be set to SD. Hit back. Hit back. And voila, you got your games. So now we're going to do the same exact thing for our cover art. So go ahead and hit home. Go to settings. Download covers and banners. And download covers. Give this a moment, and once again, I'll be right back. And same thing when these are done, go ahead and hit home, B button, and now we have our GameCube cover art. So now let's set up our theme so we can start making this look a little pretty. So I'm gonna hit the home button. We're gonna go over to settings. We're gonna go over to the right, the theme here. We're gonna go ahead and switch this to Rhapsody Shima. Hit back and let it load. And look at that. That looks a lot better than what it was. And if you hit the number 1 button, just as an FYI, you can change the orientation of your games and just view how they're scrolled a little differently. If I go ahead and check out the Wii games as well, we can cycle through all these. This is the forecast channel and stuff. You can actually get cover art for this as well. I should have said this. If you have the homebrew channel, the Me channel, pretty much all your channels, go ahead and hit home, settings, download cover art. This won't work for everything. This is pretty much the extent of what downloading covers through the interface will do. When you want to set up cover art for your retro systems, that's all done manually, which my tools that I made will help you all do. But let's go ahead and just let this finish and I'll be right back. Okay, once again, when it's done, hit home, B button. And now we have cover art for the homebrew channel, the Me channel, and stuff like that. I was heading over to the Wii games before I got interrupted. Just keep hitting this again. The homebrew channel. You're not going to be able to get cover art for all this unless you do it manually, so I'm not going to worry about this right now. But yeah, this is our Wii games. I like how everything turned out. Again, you can change your game orientation with the number 1 button. But the last thing I'm going to do here is hit the home button, go over to settings. I'm going to go backwards and we're going to look for, let's see here, source flow settings, hit set. Turn this on, the back button, and we're pretty much all set. So if all you wanted to do is just play Wii and GameCube games, you're actually good to go as is. But if you want to continue on, start adding your retro games and box art, take your SD card out, and let's head back over to the PC. All right, so starting where we left off, we have the CD image tool. This is going to come in handy if you have multiple bin tracks for, say, PlayStation 1 emulation or Sega CD emulation. So if you plan on doing either of those, go ahead and grab this tool. I'm just going to grab the latest, give it a second, and then hit download. And the next step is to download the Python scripts that I made, which I packaged up into GitHub called DEM Wiiflow Tools. As of right now, there's 24 scripts in here that'll help rename game titles and box art for 24 separate retro systems that you can see right down here. This is my first attempt at making something like this, so the tools aren't perfect. So I'd appreciate any feedback you guys could leave me down in the comments below for any future updates. But let's go ahead and grab the latest release, which is DEM Wiiflow Tools 1.0, and you're just going to download the zip file. You're going to need Python in order to use those tools. So you go ahead and go to downloads and download for Windows right here. You can see the latest right now is 3.12.4. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to be doing this one. And lastly, if you already know what systems you're going to be doing for your retro consoles, we have our box art. So we have 2 different sites, well, same site really, but 2 different links that we're going to be referencing here. This one has not so many. You have the Atari 2600, but the list is kind of short on this one. Going over to the second site, though, it actually has sections. So it goes into consoles, computers, source ports, handhelds, source ports, I'm sorry. But there's a lot more on this one. I already know I'm going to be doing the Atari 2600, which was at the top here. So if I was going to download this here, just check out the Atari 2600 Shrunken Spine. Right next to it, it says recommended for Wiiflow. A lot of them, a good majority, I guess I'll say, have that right next to it, but like right here, Creative Vision does not. Most of these files will still work, it's just that these are recommended. But anyways, back to the Atari 2600, you just go ahead and grab the A2600 Shrunken Spine, and grab all the other cover art for all the other systems you're going to be doing here, and I will see you back over on the SD card. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is extract DEM Wiiflow Tools. So right click and hit Extract To. Let that finish. Once that's done, you can go ahead and delete the zip file, and we're going to open DEM Wiiflow Tools in a new window. After that, just open it up again, and we have our list of consoles. Now, just so you guys know, I already have my games picked out in a folder called Games on my desktop. I'm going to be covering the Atari 2600, the Commodore 64, GameCube games, which we already did, MAME, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, Sega CD, and Wii games, which we also did as well. But pretty much, if you can do any of these systems that I'm doing here, you can do any of the 24 that are mentioned here. So for example, we'll start off with the Atari 2600. If I open Atari 2600 in the Wiiflow tool, you're going to see we have 4 folders. One says A2600 cover art. This is where you're going to stick your cover art. A2600 games. This is where your games are going to go. A2600 plain text names. This is where I have made my own files in order to rename everything too, so you don't have to worry about this. And then lastly, we have renamed cover art, and this is where after the script is all done, this is where your renamed cover art is going to go. So let's back up. And at the very bottom, we also have a how-to text. I have this for every single system, so if we open this up, for example, and I bring this here so you guys can see, it tells you that you'll need Python in order to run it. It tells you this tool will only read unzipped games, so you have to have everything unzipped, meaning not in a .zip format. And for Atari 2600 specifically, it's going to be in the .A26 format. I listed a bunch of other things too, like the box art size, and at the very bottom, I even go into where the directory is where you're going to stick the ROMs when it's all done. So there shouldn't be really any confusion when this is all done. Let's go ahead and back out, and we'll start by doing our cover art. Now, since I already prepared everything earlier, if I open up my Atari 2600 folder here, I already have my cover art downloaded. I'm just going to copy this. Actually, I'm going to cut it and paste it into this folder. You guys don't have to do this step. I like doing this just so I have a copy of this for later if I ever need it. But I'm going to make a second copy of this, and I'm going to stick it in the A2600 cover art. Again, you didn't have to do what I just did there. You can just stick it right in here if you want. After that, right click and extract to. And then we can delete the zip file. Open up the folder that we have here. Do that again. And you're going to see we have all of our cover art plus an alt folder. Now, the alt folder just has duplicate names in it for different styles of cover arts. I really don't use it. Half the time, it just creates duplicate files or missing cover art. So I always delete the alternate files. Go ahead and press yes. And basically, these are the ones that I'm going to be using here today. So let's go ahead and back up. Head back over to the Wiiflow Tools, Atari 2600. And now we're going to put our Atari 2600 games in. So open up this folder. You can see I have my games here on the right. They're all .A26. Highlight them all and drag them on here. Head back over to the tool. And now we're going to run the Python script. But I want you guys to see what it actually does. So I'm going to open up a new tab. You guys don't have to do this part. This is just for you guys to see. I'm going to right-click the A2600 games, so open a new window. And now I'm going to go ahead and run the script. So it's going to tell you, thank you for using dat Atari 2600 Wiiflow tool. Would you like to see your listed Atari 2600 games? Go ahead and type yes. You're pretty much going to type yes to all of these, but it's going to give you a list of all the games that it sees in the directory where you place the games, which is good. Then it's going to say, these are the games that I picked up. Would you like to remove the version and region information from the title names? Example is like Pitfall USA, it'd be changed to just Pitfall. So yes or no. And I'm going to hit yes, but before I hit enter, go ahead and take a look at my games folder and you'll see them getting renamed. Boop. And there you go. So heading back over to the script, it's going to say, all done. I did my best to remove what I could. Would you like to reference the text list made by Below Average Gaming to rename your games as well? Hit yes. I know it said 2 there, but I added as well. So it's going to reference the text list one more time. And it's going to say, would you like to match the names above to your Atari 2600 games and then rename them? What this does is like a secondary check, and it's going to remove unnecessary things like certain dashes, certain commas that just make games unreadable. I'm still tweaking these, but for the most part, I think it's running pretty good. So I'm just going to hit yes. Again, you might see things rename on the right. I think I just saw Miss Pac-Man rename. But then it's going to say your Atari 2600 games have been renamed. Would you like to start working on your box art now? Go ahead and hit yes. And again, like I said, you're just going to be hitting yes to all these. First thing we should do is remove all the version information from the box art titles. Sound good? Go ahead and hit yes. And this is going to take everything that was in your box art titles and bring it to that current folder that I was on. And notice that all the games have USA or whatever may be on them all removed. So now if you head back over to the script, it says, great. Now that that's out of the way, this is the box art that I found. You should probably rename this as well. Want to rename them? Yes or no? Hit yes. And when it's all done, it says, all done. This tool was created by Below Average Gaming, DAT A2600 Wiiflow tool. Press any key to exit. So now we're all done and we can transfer this to the SD card. So I'm just going to close these 2 folders, minimize this, and I'll show you guys how to add this. So once again, you can reference the text list and go to the bottom. It tells you where to put everything. It's the Wii 2600 folder and then the ROMs folder. That's for your games. And then for your box art, it's going to be in the Wiiflow folder, box cover folder, Atari folder, 2600 folder. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're looking for Wii 2600 ROMs. This is where our ROMs are going to go. So in the A2600 games folder, here's all of our games that we just did. They're all renamed and ready to go. Drag them right onto the SD. Head back over to the root of your SD card. And now we're going to look for our Wiiflow folder, box covers, Atari 2600. And this is where your box covers are going to go. So head back and we're going to go to renamed cover art this time. And these are the cover art that it picked up for the games that were in there. Since I didn't have really a full roster of games, this is just what it matched up, which is perfect for me. So 22 games. And we're good to go with that. So let's head over and do the next game. So the next one I have is the Commodore 64. So I'm going to open up that Commodore 64 Wiiflow tool. And it's going to be the same exact thing. Open up Commodore 64 wherever you keep your games. I have my cover art, and again, I'm going to copy my cover art. I like saving mine twice, so I'm going to save mine to like the root directory here in the Commodore 64 tool. Again, it's not necessary, you don't have to. And then I do it again in the cover art folder. Now this part is necessary. Right click, go to extract to, delete your zip file, open your covers. If you have any alts, go ahead and delete them. Templates, go ahead and delete them. And here's our Commodore 64 cover art. So let's go ahead and back up. And now we're going to do our games. Once again, there's a how-to text. It tells you how your games have to be. For this one, again, it's got to be unzipped, and the games have to be in a .d64, T64, or PRG format. And once again, at the bottom, it tells you where the games are going to go. So back up, and we're going to do our Commodore 64 games this time. And that's pretty much everything here, minus the zip file. Just going to toss that in. And now we can run the script. So I'm not going to open those folders again because you guys pretty much got the gist from the last one. Just open it up and literally hit yes to everything. If you have any problems, the script should let you know. It'll tell you what was matched, what isn't matched, like what it's doing right now. And when it's all done, it'll tell you it's complete. But you can see this one's actually running through the full roster of the games that I added here. I had a little more in this one than I did on the Atari 2600. Now it's flying through our box art. And we're all done. It's going to say, thank you for using that Commodore 64 Wiiflow tool. So just go ahead and exit out of this. And just to make sure you've done everything right, you can open up the rename cover art. You'll see everything's in here. Your games automatically renamed in the games folder. So let's transfer these over to the SD card. So let's go to SD card. Now for Commodore 64, I know most of you probably aren't doing this one here, but we're going to go to Proto. That's the emulator for it. And in the games folder, this is where your games are going to go. So Commodore 64, highlight everything, drag them over. And now we're going to do our box art. So go to the root of the SD, head over to Wiiflow, head over to box covers, head over to C64, and they're going to go right here. So go into your renamed cover art folder, and all your renamed stuff is going to go right into that folder. And that's it for this tool. And now we'll move on to our next set of games. So we already did GameCube. MAME's going to be the next one we do. And the reason I'm doing these is because they all run differently. Like these ones run extracted games. MAME, we actually don't have to convert much at all. So if we open up the, where is it? Dat MAME Wiiflow tool. Open up our MAME folder. So what I'm going to do is just copy over my box art. So again, I like making 2 copies of that. And copy over it to the cover art. Right click and extract to. Delete the zip. Open up this, and if you have any alts, go ahead and delete them. Delete the dupes. Delete this. Delete this. And like I said, all you want is the original cover art files. So all we have to do for this one is just run the script. So I'm going to open this up. And it's going to tell you something different this time. It's going to say, please drag and drop your MAME 2003 ROM set folder here to pick out the games that actually work on the Wii and press enter. So this script was made based on the MAME 2003 ROM set. And like it said here, not every single game works on the Wii. Somebody on the GBA temp made a list of every single game that does work, which was extremely helpful. So what this script does is if you have a lot of MAME 2003 ROM set games, this script will pick out the working ones from those and put those into the games folder. So this is the list of the working games. And you might notice, I'm just going to open this back up, none of these are actually like readable. You might not know what half of these games are except for the short ones like Dig Dug. There is another list here that I have called which MAME games are which. You can open this up. You can read the middle and compare it to the left to find out which games are which if you're looking for something specific. But yeah, all we have to do right now is just drag in our ROM folder. So give me 1 second to find that. Okay, so I have my ROMs folder right here housing all my MAME games. I'm just going to drag this in, hit enter. It's going to read all the games that you have. And it's going to say, would you like to reference a text file that has all the Wii MAME information? Go ahead and hit yes. But it's going to tell you to drag that file in. So it's going to say MAME 2003 working Wii text list, and that's right down here. Drag that in, enter, and just give it a moment to finish. And say, thanks for using this below average conversion list. Your games have been matched and placed into the MAME games folder. Happy modding. So go ahead and exit out, go into your MAME games, and here are all of your working MAME games. And there's no need for renaming because these are the actual names for it. And if you didn't look already, if you take a look at your cover art, it's actually matching those names already. So there's no need to rename anything, especially if you grab this off of the GBA temp site with the rest of the box art. But now let's head back over to the tool again. If you're still confused on how to use it and where the files go, it's the same thing, and I explain where everything goes. So now let's go ahead and set up the SD card, wherever that may be. Let's go ahead and open up the MAME folder. In the ROMs folder, this is where you're going to place all of your games. So I have my MAME games, select all of them, drag them over. While they're transferring, let's head over to the root of the SD card, head over to Wiiflow, box covers, MAME, and you're going to drag your renamed cover art, which it's not going to be renamed this time because it's all named correctly off rip. So just take your cover art that was downloaded, I misspoke, and just drag that in there. So let's head back over to the root of our SD card and continue on. PlayStation 1. So let's go ahead and open this up and look for the PlayStation 1 Wiiflow tool as well. So the PlayStation 1 requires BIOS, and if you look into the how-to text, I actually explain all that down at the bottom, even telling you where it goes and what the title of the BIOS is. So if we go to back here, I have my BIOS. We're not going to worry about that this second, but we are going to grab our cover art, copy that over, copy it again to PS1 cover art, right-click, extract to, delete the zip file, open this up, and we have no alternates, which is good. And now we're going to do our PS1 games. So this one's a little bit different. Now, if we look at Crash Bandicoot, for example, we have Crash Bandicoot USA .bin and .q. That's fine. You can toss this folder over into your games. Then eventually you're going to run into games like South Park Rally. South Park Rally has a bunch of bin files that say track 1 all the way through track 76. So this is where the tool CD image comes into play. So let's go back into our downloads folder real fast. And we're going to grab this CD image tool. I'm just going to copy this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to paste it into the Wiiflow tool. So just right on the root of the PS1 tool. So I'm going to open this up, hit run, and we're going to install it here. So you got to browse. I know it's in my downloads right now, DEM Wiiflow Tools. I know it's PS1, and it's just going to be that folder. So hit OK, and then hit unzip. That'll give you this file here, CD image. You can open it. And now check this out. So open up your PS1 games one more time. So we have Crash Bandicoot in there already. I'm going to copy the name of the text file here, South Park Rally. Paste it as a new folder onto the Wiiflow tool. We're going to drag the .q file into the CD image tool. Wait for it to load. And then we're going to save it into that folder. So go to File, Save As. This PC was Downloads, DEM Wiiflow Tools, PS1 Games, South Park Rally. So save and OK. So now you're going to see this saving all the information into this folder. Just let it finish. Once it's done, if you look at South Park Rally, we only have one .bin and .q files, so that's all set. So that's what the purpose of the CD imager does. So I'm gonna exit out of this, and I'm just gonna transfer the rest of my PS1 games, so just give me 1 sec. Okay, so now that we're all good with that, let's go back into the tool. So now one thing you're gonna notice out of all the rest, this one has 2 scripts you're gonna have to run. One of them renames the .bin and .q files, and one of them renames the box art. So let's go ahead and open this up. We'll do Crash Bandicoot as an example, and I will run the .bin and q tool. So it's gonna tell you what it recognizes. Go ahead and hit yes. Hit yes again. And yes again. When it's done, you'll see that it removed the USA from the Crash Bandicoot name and say, thank you for using .ps1 bin and q tool. Go ahead and hit enter. And now we're going to do the same thing for the box art tool. Open that up. Hit yes. Hit yes again. And just let this finish. And now our box art is all set. Go ahead and close out of the tool. And let's transfer the stuff over to the SD card. Okay, so 3 things for this one. Let's start off with our games. We're going to go to Wii SXRX down at the bottom here. And you're going to notice we have a BIOS folder. We actually got to stick the SCPH1001 bin right there, and I have that right here. So I'm just going to drag that in. Minimize that for now. Then we'll go to our ISOs. This is where we're going to stick our games. So go to PS1 games, highlight and transfer. Go over to the root of your SD card. And lastly, we're going to go into our Wiiflow folder. Go into box covers, go into PlayStation, and then stick your renamed cover art right here. So highlight all that, drag it over, and that one's good to go. So I know I have 2 other systems to cover still in the folder, which I think are N64 and Sega CD, but I think you guys get it. The processes are the same for all of these, and if you get confused, there are the help me files that are in each one of those systems. So I think we're just going to head over to the SD card from here and start checking things out. So now that we're on the Wii, whenever we want to use Wiiflow, we obviously have to open up the Wiiflow channel. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys how to auto boot into this. That way we don't have to open this app anymore. You'll still be able to return home and stuff like that, but from now on, when you turn on the console, Wiiflow will be the default application. Now that we're on here, you might not know how to actually access your retro games. So you're going to hit the B button on the Wiimote. Once this converts some files, you're going to notice you have the Wii menu, retro consoles, retro computers, handhelds, and arcade. So let's go ahead and check out the first one, which would be retro consoles. It's going to convert some covers for us here. Just give it a moment. And we'll start off with the Atari 2600. So let's open this up. It's going to tell you converting covers 1 of 22 or however many games that you put in here. And here we go. Now we have all of our Atari games and all of our box art was also picked up. So everything seems to be running good here. Let's go ahead and back up and check out our other systems. So just to kind of show you, we have the Atari 5200, 7800, so much more opportunities for a lot of consoles here. And I believe you can actually switch these out with other consoles. I haven't gotten that far on how to figure that out yet, but I do know it's possible. Let's open up N64. Let it convert these covers. Just give me 1 sec. And here we are, N64 games. And I'm just going to reorient it to the side so you guys can see it. And it looks like it looks like everything got picked up again. So that's awesome. And everything seems to be picking up things very smoothly. I have Spyro the Dragon here. So if you press A, you can actually flip the cover art over. You can view the back. If you hit the plus button, you can zoom in. That's pretty cool. Go ahead and hit back. And there we go. All I did was Jurassic Park and Night Trap for this one. You might have noticed that I had Night Trap Disc 1 and Disc 2, and it only reads Disc 1. Disc 2 will get read automatically when you start up the game. And actually, since we're here, you might run into trouble with Sega CD specifically because you need to go to the home button, select plugins, go to the left, and we're looking for, see how it says Sega Mega CD GXRA? We just want to make sure it says Sega Mega CD GX. But that should be it for checking out our games. Let's go ahead and get started with Priiloader, and we'll figure out how to auto boot into Wiiflow. So power off your system, hold down the reset button, and while you're holding down the reset button, tap the power button. Now this will bring us into Priiloader, and all we have to do is just go down to the bottom, into Settings, go to Autoboot, where it says System Menu, scroll to the right, we're going to do Installed File. Go down to Save Settings, you don't have Priiloader installed, by the way, it was also covered in the same video as the CIOS installer I mentioned earlier. Then we're going to go up to load install file. Then we're going to go up and we're looking for this Wiiflow WFL file. So press A on that, let it install, then press B, and then go to installed file. And now it should boot up Wiiflow. So from now on, whenever you turn on your console, it will boot up Wiiflow automatically. So this is pretty much it to get you guys going. There is one more thing to put some icing on the cake if you guys want to stick around. Give me 1 second. Okay, so real quick before we wrap things up and get ready to go, one thing most tutorials probably don't show you is that Wiiflow can actually play music. If you go into your SD card, go into Wiiflow, you have a music folder right here. It should be empty. If you want any music to go in there, it just has to be converted into the .ogg format. So for example, I have hamster-free audio converter. I'll leave a link down in the description below. You guys can use any audio converter that has the .ogg audio conversion in it. But anyways, open up hamster-free, drag in your tunes that you want in, go to next. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see .ogg as a format. So I'm just gonna select that, hit convert. It's gonna ask you where you want it, and I'm gonna have it go into my SD card, have it go into Wiiflow, and into the music folder. Then I'm gonna hit OK, and let it convert. You can see already that it says demtunes.ogg is already in there, so just give this a second to finish in the hamster audio converter, and then we'll go check this out in the Wii. All right, it's finished. Go ahead and take your SD card out, and I'll see you over there. Okay, so we got everything booting up on the Wii now. I actually have the audio boosted so you guys can hear what's going on, and I'll stay quiet for the moment. And I guess that's about the extent where the music stops. Once you're converting stuff, I guess it'll pause briefly. But I think I'm going to end the video here while the Commodore 64 files are converting, because it looks like it'll take a little bit. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. I hope I answered as much as I could in this video to get you guys started and off on your journey here. I'm definitely looking for feedback on the box art tools as well, so let me know how you guys like that. But I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.